Welcome to Podcast on the Porch with Carrie
and Teresa.
And it is June 21st.
What time is it?
It is 3:30 in the afternoon.
Nice. We're sitting on the old porch.
We're sitting on the old porch. I'm going to admit that I'm cold.
It's kind of partly cloudy. Clouds are kind of banking up in the west. Do we have another thunderstorm warning out for today? Are we okay? And it's poor North Dakota that's getting hit.
I don't think that's as much clouds as you think it is. We have a smoke warning.
Oh.
It was a lot heavier earlier this morning when I went to work at the crack. So, crack of a good old dawn there.
I was waiting for that thought to finish.
And it was very smoky this morning. Yeah, I mean, you know what's interesting is the amount of people that are like, oh, Montana's so this and that, and you don't see severe weather, and I'm like, no. We still get tornadoes, we still get the microbursts. Yeah. Heck, there's even earthquakes here. The only thing you're going to get is a tsunami or a hurricane.
And right now, we have to just pop in on my favorite passionate thing to talk about because, well, today it's cooler. Tomorrow I have no idea what temperature. It just flips back and forth. But as always, please take care of your animals. Take care of your pets. And remember that the sidewalks are hot. Make sure that they have water and food. And if they are outside dogs, make sure that there's some sort of shade for them. Watch the back of the pickups. It's so easy for the weather, for it just to get hot so fast. And our buddies always want to go with us, and those trucks just get hot quickly. And if we see our neighbor might be having a little trouble managing their pets, just try to be good neighbors.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pets, did you see what Mayor Dion put out about the dog pound?
Well, so I feel like myself, along with a lot of other people, have been following on Facebook. That's what I was following on. So what do you know? My understanding is that with the pound puppies not having the space right now because they're maxed out at 5 until the new yard is finished up, that the city is now putting an enforcement down that if you don't pick up your animal, that they will be euthanized on the 4th day or 5th day. So I find it very imperative that people get their dogs and cats licensed up, and because once it starts with one, it'll go to the next, and kind of breaks my heart on that because we have a lot of irresponsible pet owners in our community that let their dogs wander or be and don't wear the proper identifications to even be found. Saying that too, I'm going to own to the fact that I have been one of those irresponsible pet owners in the past, and what you try to do is you just try to learn and you be better, and so I think over the last few decades that I have improved as a human being, and just because you do something one way doesn't mean you can't change and get better. I've definitely tried.
And we all know that, I've got huskies. We all know that they're escape artists to the fullest, and they can scale a 6-foot fence, and if you don't believe me, I got videos to prove it.
And they're great wanderers. They have a terrible time finding their way home, don't they?
Mine have always found their way home.
Oh, I've heard of some that just, you better have a tracker on them because they can't find,
I will say I did have one when we lived in Wyoming. She passed away when she was 12. She did go running for quite a few hours, but that little stinker figured out how to go through 2 different doors handles. She figured out how to open 2 different types, and decided to take herself for a good old jog around the little forest stuff.
Yeah, smart little changes. Well,
talking about J&P, Pound Puppies, they have a, I think as many people as possible, let's get out and try to help them. They have a fundraiser going right now. They've got a raffle, and when I was in Tractor Supply the other day, it's a 0-turn lawnmower. It's like a limited amount of tickets that are being sold on it, $100 per ticket, and it's one sweet lawnmower sitting out there. You can see which kind it is. It's out in front. And then get a hold of Patty and Joe. See about if they've got board member applications, if they need, board members to help them, if they have volunteer applications, to have volunteers that can help them with their with their project as well. That would be great. So make sure you can get a hold of them and offer any help they might need. And we can't forget that, we've got our kitty rescue here in town too. Happy Tails.
Yep, and I saw that Happy Tails isn't taking any animals in. They are focusing on the catch and release program and spaying and neutering. And the TNR program.
Is Robin still kind of chairing that?
Yep, and so a lot of people...
That woman has a lot of foresight like that.
So TNR, if you don't know what it is...
I do not.
They spay or neuter said kitty, and then the tip of one of their ear gets cut so that you know it is a alley cat, per se, and that it is spayed or neutered.
Oh.
Because a lot of people get very upset with loose cats. Don't get me wrong, I'm one of them, especially if it's people that just keep dumping them everywhere because they don't know, they don't seem to get their cat spayed, and said cat keeps having multiple litters. But you actually do need loose cats in your community, and that's because they help keep down the mice population. Like, it actually is beneficial, and I learned this a few years ago, that once you get a TNR cat in the area, they don't leave their area. They're very specific. They like to stay in their area, and they're not your wanderers. Your wanderers are actually most people's home cats. And so that's why there's always that name of alley cat, because alley cats will defend their alley.
I like it. They have their own beat.
They have their own pad they like to stick by. But they're needed to keep your community rodent free, I guess we could say.
Nice.
Which, kind of helps in the aspect of living in the area where rattlesnakes come yondering by. You ain't got no mice, you ain't gonna get no rattles.
I like it. And yeah, so we'll try to support our rescues that we have right now, and I'll keep looking on. The only place that I've been seeing anything about the animal project through the city is on Facebook. So that's I don't know.
There is an
that's
article. Yeah, there is an article in the paper. But yeah, it's kind of interesting on a lot of stuff, and I'm still trying to figure out how the city spent $1 million this month in their budget.
So what was that about? Okay, all right. And so for our listeners who now are more than 3.
Yeah.
And so for our 3+ listeners, I was talking to Carrie earlier, and I was talking about a podcast, and I go, well, what's our itinerary for discussion today? And she says, oh, I got things to discuss. So there's a slight level of anxiety here. I had no way to emotionally, mentally, physically prepared for today's podcast. So we'll just go with it, Carrie. $1 million.
Yeah,
what is that about? I don't know.
Well, that's the problem with our good old city government, the lack of transparency. Because God forbid we put out them receipts and that little book that everybody signs of what we know what our money's getting spent on. I'm just still shocked that we're spending so much money. We're broke. We're in the red. And I will admit, I've done a lot of nail biting and holding to God that we don't end up like Miles City, where, the state is stepping in.
Are they?
Yeah, the state's stepping in. And
oh dear.
Did you see where they had to lay off like half their fire department? They had to lay off police officers. They had to lay off all sorts of people. And I don't think people understand, this is not a joke. This is not
let's go ahead and let our good old boy club keep running because our good old boy club ain't running right.
And I think very concerning is the fact, I was actually talking to a resident from Miles City, a business owner there the other day, and I feel that all of us think of our neighbor, Miles City, as rocking it. I mean, from an economic development standpoint to everything. I mean, if we want to shop outside of our town, which, by the way, I love to shop in our town, but, sometimes you just want to get out of town. We go to Dickinson, we go to Miles City, and we think of Miles City as prospering. And the fact that Miles City is like hit their knees, it's like this can happen to anybody. And to avoid suspicion, it's very important to just be completely transparent. If there was a way that like all of the expenditures could just be put online for review, and then people could go, ooh, that is bad, but it's obviously appropriate because we can see, and people can do their own math on things, but at least they've got all the facts in which to do that.
Yeah, like it's kind of scary. It really is, because Miles City had the same problem we do, where they had the same people sitting in the same seats. And at what point do we say, okay, come on, you need to get different minds in there. You need to get people to stop this spending. You need to quit people giving their buddies their raises. 'Cause let's be real, we saw it ourselves sitting in those meeting rooms when you have somebody voting on their own raise.
So and I can't remember who I was talking to earlier. I was talking about you're in my friendship, and like us even doing this podcast together, and how we have been friends for a lot of years, and we have not necessarily always philosophically agreed on a lot of things. But that's great, because I think this shows that I don't know where our society went, that if you do not like only like communicate with people that think exactly like you, that's bad. Where did we not be able to have disagreements? And what we're segueing to that is raises. And I remember with my little hot minute that I was up at the city, oh boy, and the fact that the current people that are in City Hall right now were thinking that the followers were coming in and picking on everybody. And Carrie, there were times you showed up at some of those meetings when I was presiding over those meetings. It's like, oh no, what's she gonna say now? And I remember trying to fight for a raise for recruitment of chief of police, and so that we could be competitive with other towns. And I was trying very hard to fight to get the council to agree to increase the starting salary. And you were at that meeting fighting against me, saying we do not need to have more money for starting salary. And so this has been going on for a long time, and you and I have even disagreed on that. And so it's just interesting now, the raises that you're talking about, when there was no way that council was going to give an increase in salary for the chief of police and Glendive for recruitment purposes.
But then this is what I find very amusing, because it goes back to the good old boy system of who you know, is the fact that they fought against you on it, but then they turn around and hire one of their friends, and all of a sudden that position went from a $50,000 a year position to $87,000 a year.
Oh, and what was I trying to get it to?
65.
I was trying to raise it by $10,000 just to get.
You wanted that plus a bonus of 5 after a year of staying.
Oh my gosh! And a couple council members, I remember them saying, "We will never approve this.
Yeah. And now, instead of giving the 10, we gave 37,000.
Wow.
And now you look at when that all went down, then they moved up the assistant chief, they moved up the detective, and then they still shit on all their officers.
And so, and I think we had touched on it last week. Oh, random. By the way, we got some real positive feedback about Maria at our last podcast, giving information about the government or the city government review, and so that was really great. So little call out to Maria for.
Yeah. And you guys went and did Buzzard Days together, right?
Yes, we did, and so we went to Buzzard Days. And so the goal was there to give out as much information as we could. So I had brought like copies of the county's current form of government. I had that for review if anybody wanted to review it. No one did, but it was there in case they wanted it. And then the last commission recommendations from 1996, I had that for review, which by the way are all on the county's website. Under where did I say that was? Community. You go under community and then you click and it has government review and then it has everything. And then I had a copy of all of our articles that we did for the newspaper and some of the MSU local government information about the different types. And then we put together a little public comment form if somebody just wanted to write on it. But it also had both Rick Holden, our chair for our commission. It had his name on it and his email on it and Maria's and her email on it. So
speaking of Rick Holden.
Oh, okay, my stomach, I'm getting nervous. I don't know what's coming.
I sent an email for my comment to be read. Said comment never got read. And my email just got forwarded. And I think I'm going to have to send him how to do a public meeting email from the MCA code, because when somebody sends a public comment via email, they're supposed to be read. And his response back to me was he'll leave me time to read my public comment at his next meeting, but I can't make it to those meetings because of my work schedule and softball.
So I feel bad. I feel okay. So I'm just a little nervous. I'm not sure about this conversation, but but I did, I think I might have misstepped on that as well then, just a little, because Lisa Kelstrip was also not able to make the meeting, and she did an email public comment, and she emailed it to me. I emailed it to the commission, and then I printed it off and I made it a part of our public comment record, and I think I gave it to Will from the newspaper, who was there too. And so I did not read it out loud, but I didn't read Lisa's out loud, but I did have it there, and it was attached to everything. And so I may have accidentally not completely followed what we were supposed to, but it was available for anybody. And I think did the Ranger Review print Lisa's? She was supportive of city county consolidation, and I thought that may have even made the Ranger Review. So her public comment got accessed.
Because I had put in my email that I addressed it as a public comment. I asked for it to be read out loud and to be put in the minutes. And so, which is the way it gets done everywhere else. Because I also did one to the city committee.
Okay, and they're meeting at this next Thursday, I think. Isn't that when aren't they the last Thursday of the month?
I think
so. And I think they're still meeting at the Kearney.
Yep, at the
Kearney.
Kearney.
I think that's at 6:30.
Yeah. And that's another meeting I can't make because of my work schedule.
I know.
But that's just, and you know what? And that's fine, because no matter when you schedule it, people aren't going to be able to attend. No. That's just the way life is. It's the same thing with the city meetings and stuff like that. Like
county commissioners meetings. Granted, they do theirs at 2 different times so that they can try to hit both sides of the public fence. But it is the way it is. I mean, you guys are all volunteers, so I get that. And that's why I did my comment the way I did, because I can only work so hard. So, you know what's funny is that you know that we're both Gen Xers, and we both have this ADHD squirrel moment. And we went from raises to the buzzer day to public comment. So,
Look at us go.
I know. We didn't even finish the raise thing, but that's okay.
I know. Well, let's go back.
I think we're done with that.
We passed out much information.
Yes,
much
we
information
did.
was shared at
You know what?
Buzzer
And
Day.
that's another thing. Speaking of us being friends, 16 years now?
A lot.
And us having our disagreements and our agreements, because, I mean, hell, we even had disagreements when you were on the Makoshka board.
Yeah.
And
way back then.
people actually were so shocked that we were still friends after that. And I was just like, are you kidding me?
And so
We're Gen Xers. We fought with our friends on the playground and then beat the crap out of them, and we're holding hands an hour later.
I know. And
Like, come on.
Let me pick on my friend, but no one else is picking on my friend. It's like what you do with you should be doing that with your family too. And so, but so back to public comment, because you and I were talking about this earlier, when so also when I was my hot minute up at the city, you were public commenting another time. And it's like, oh dear, I don't know what she's gonna say next. And I was sitting beside Jessica Reitz, who was like taking minutes, and I go, can I whispered over to her, can I make her stop? Jessica just shook her head, nope. And that was your freedom of speech, and that was your freedom of speech, and it was pretty brutal, but it was your right to speak, and it was not my right. That was your constitutional right to say what you wanted, even if I didn't want to hear it.
But you know what? We all go through that. It's constructive criticism. Like, is it not taught anymore that, you take constructive criticism? And it's because it's somebody else's opinion on what you may or may not have done or something as whole. Like, everybody should be able to speak their opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, I can't say I'm going to go out and somebody, because you can't say crap like that.
No.
Yeah. But, granted, back in our day, we used to be able to say, I'm going to go beat your ass. And, like, that was okay. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, we got people that are like, oh my God.
I know. Yeah.
And I can't handle that. I really can't. And I know you raise your children the same way I raised mine. And you can tell that our children are different.
Yeah.
And you can tell they are ran by a Gen Xer. And you know what's even funnier? Is that people have said that about me with my youngest, because I had her late in life. And they're like, she's very different. And I'm like, you know what? She's her own person, and I am okay with that.
I guess I'm having trouble with you being a Gen Xer, because I am quite a bit older than you, and you're a baby Gen Xer. I'm on the baby end of it.
No, there's still 2 years until it goes.
I am solid. I am solid right in the middle of that. And you're on the end.
Hey, I'm closer to 50 than I want to admit.
Oh wow, I wonder what it was like to be 50. I can't remember that anymore.
We can ask Dennis.
Anyway, yeah. So 2 of our constitutional rights, which I think are very, because at Buzzer Days also there was a protest going on too. And actually, there was a lot of stuff going on during Buzzer Days, because there was Buzzer Days. There was this darn amazing quilt show happening.
So,
are we back on?
Yep.
We had to pause because of administrative things at Carrie's work. And
so, anyway, sorry, we're back on.
I can't remember where we were at. I know.
Okay.
I remember. So we were talking about Saturday with they had the quilting show. There was a protest.
Yes, the protest.
And that was where I was going with constitutional, because I squirreled with constitutional rights. two of the very three fundamental constitutional rights that we have are freedom of speech and right to peaceful assembly. And so that means that whether or not a person agrees with what a protest is, if that is their freedom of speech and if they are assembling peacefully, that is their right to do so as an American citizen. And so I think sometimes when other people get upset because people are doing things, as long as when protests become unpeaceful, I believe that is called a riot.
Yes.
But if and so I went. I had to leave Buzzard Days for a few minutes, so I had to go drive and
So what was this protest?
It was the one of the No King.
I don't even know what that is about.
Well, then you haven't been watching Facebook close enough, because it was on Facebook, and it was a political protest, and so I know that there were a lot of people opposing that No King protest that had a lot of things to say, and guess what? The most important thing is that they were peacefully assembling, and that was our constitutional right.
I remember when you were mayor, there was a protest.
Yes, there was.
And
it was. Do you remember? And I was. There was a 16-year-old girl that organized that, and I think our friend Shannon Cattermas did help guide her and help facilitate that happening and stuff. But the fact that a young woman felt passionately about something and found a way to, I guess, facilitate a political event, I think that is commendable.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And that was very peaceful. Your council didn't like it, but it was peaceful.
No, it was, and so we had a little protest out here, in the park across from the VFW, and I think it was just that. I think it was a peaceful protest. So all those things were going on during Buzzard Days when we were giving out local government review information.
Was Buzzard Day as busy as it normally is?
So because they moved it out of the park, because of construction going on at the park, it was down at Eyre Park, down by Reynolds. And the last tally I heard was that because normally they did a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon. They did do the half marathon because of the change in location. But last year I think they had 50 and change or 60 runners, and this year they had 72, and then they had 15 youth that did a run too this year. I believe the tally that the Friends of Makoshika committee gave was they thought 400 visitors came through, is what they did. GMC was out there giving out helmets, bike helmets for kids. They had a lot of cool things, bouncy houses, and there were just so many things going on in town.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff coming up too.
What else, Carrie? What else do you have?
That's all I have, actually.
Woo!
Yeah.
I like that. So let's.
And here
see.
she was scared.
I'm not gonna lie. I had no way to prep for this. So take care of your animals.
Yep.
Help your neighbors out with their animals.
Get your doggies licensed up and your kitties licensed up.
And think about helping out Robin at Happy Tales. Think about getting a hold of Patty and Joe and finding out if they have board positions open or volunteer positions open. Be involved. There's going to be there's going to be county government surveys coming out for the community and city surveys coming out. So please, everybody wants to know what you think. So wait for those surveys to come out. Be involved in that.
Get your emails in to your people that you want to voice your stuff at, and that goes from city government to county government to these study reviews. Like, you
can't always be a keyboard warrior, and what I mean by that is going to Facebook, spewing whatever you want to spew,
and then be done with it. Be willing to take it a little extra step.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what the frustration for me is that I stood up, said my piece. A lot of people agreed with me, but never showed up to back me on it.
Yeah.
And that was very frustrating. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a couple that came, but you know, they and then we had that big mass of people that came, and then they just dispersed. And you know,
and
we can't do that as a community if we want change.
Also, another key point today was be willing to accept other opinions. Other opinions. Do not let opposing opinions destroy relationships.
Right.
Let's do that.
And you can always have a talk. You should always be able to sit down and talk to somebody about each side of the story, because you never know. They have key facts. You might have key facts, and you come up with different facts together.
And let's see. And then maybe for a point for our next podcast, let's talk about zoning regulations.
Okay.
I have some opinions. I do. I have some pretty strong opinions about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for today from Podcast on the Porch from Carrie
and Teresa.
And as always, have a blessed day and take care of all your animals and see
your people.
And your people. See you soon.